And we're live. Hello, welcome to the Alchemy Bench. As you can see, joining me today we have Jonathan, who for some reason is dressed up as steampunk Captain America. Oh shit, they're not hearing you. Oh, let me. Now they should be able to hear you. Fucking
So
OBS.
they should be. Yes, fucking OBS. That's the word. So don't worry, you didn't hear anything important. I was just saying that, like, the hat maker also makes like masks that can go along with the steampunk hats. So yeah, who would have known that we're being in a global pandemic where we all need to wear a mask? Not sure if like that the steampunk mask would like work that well. And hey, Jordan, hey, Dean's here in Indigenous Heretic, hey, David Scott, and hey, Metro. Glad to see all the regulars here. Yes, okay.
Pretty certain we are not going to be joined by any of the other Hujma things. Whatchamacallits. Thingamabobs.
It's
Alchemists.
irregular regulars. No, you're
Irregular
the only
regulars. There we go.
You're the only alchemist. You're the one that teaches like
Chemistry.
I mean, yeah. Hello, Tabby. Hello, Ronrock.
Now I have a serious question.
Okay.
I was accused of bigotry, and is it bigoted to insult Republicans?
No. Was it one of your family members again?
Yes, it was.
We could
upset that I was calling Republicans fascists and thuglicans and Confederates and all the other shit that I call them. Oh, man. But let me just say, you are not born and raised in the temple of republicanism to ethnic Republicans. There's no genetic predisposition to republicanism. You cannot track rates of republicanism by levels of sunshine or anything like that. I mean, it is not a race, a religion, an ethnicity, a gender, or a sexuality. You cannot be bigoted against Republicans. That's not a thing. That's judging people by their fucking actions.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, man alive.
Mm-hmm. Men alive! There are men alive in here. I'm going to go ahead and give Mithro the link just so that we can have a third person.
Yes, that is excellent. That is an excellent idea.
So, Mithro, you will get one in your email very shortly.
And while we're waiting for the myth to join us, let us go ahead and thank our matrons. Yemi
Okay.
Ye.
Thank you, Yemi Ye.
And Lito.
Thank you, Lito Ano. Not a fucker this time?
No. She's not here. It's not fun to make fun of her when she's not here.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's a lie. Fuck you, Julie.
We love you, Julie.
And then Marty.
Thank you, Marty.
And Ellie.
Thank you, Ellie.
And Yo.
Thank you, Yo.
And Mylin.
Thank you, Mylin.
A couple of fuckers. And then Tim.
Thank you, Tim and fuckers.
And then Von Rack.
And thank you, Von, who says we are in the global pandemic? Huh? Did you not hear that the president and we are over that? We moved. We're just going to accept people who are going to like die because we don't give a damn about them. Yet that was the whole thing. It was like, oh, it's going to mostly affect like blue states then. So yeah. And Republicans openly promote white supremacy, destroying any semblance of voting and vigilance and vigilant street violence. They are fascists. I agree. Yeah.
Yep, and they refuse to say that if they lose the election, they will step out of the White House. What a weird thing. But yeah, you anticipated the thing I wanted to talk about today, Tavi, is discussing whether or not the Republican Party is fascist. Got a whole thing all queued up.
Okay.
First, I want to read a quote, again related to the accusation of bigotry. That hurt. From Naomi Schulman. You'll probably recognize this quote. Nice people made the best Nazis. My mom grew up next to them. They got along, refused to make waves, looked the other way when things got ugly, and focused on happier things than politics. They were lovely people who turned their heads as their neighbors were dragged away. You know who weren't nice people? Resistors.
Yeah. Oh god. The resistors. You're blocking the roads. I'm going to be late to work for this. It's like
you're disrespecting Her Majesty Skycloth.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that you're in pain, Valerie. Yeah, I know way too many people that are in like constant pain. Yes, Tavi, never trust nice people, because like if someone says to you, like Sark on a card will say, I'm a nice person. You don't know me, but I'm a nice person. You gotta be suspicious of that. And that's our friend Metro that is joining us.
Good evening.
Good evening, Stephen Hunt. Hopefully you don't mind your name being public like that.
Yeah, it's my dad's.
Ah, that works like that.
That might even be worse in a way, actually, thinking about it.
All right. So how are things in lovely, sunny Northern England?
Pissing it down with rain, as always.
Wait a minute, sunny in the UK? When does that happen? The 15th century?
It's just a vicious rumour. Better show. I was boasting about it, so I'll show you.
Went to England, got a great tan. Everybody knows this.
Oh, that's your new gaming rig.
Yep.
Nice.
So I can have fun.
Yeah, it's been over 15 years since I had like a working tower computer or something like that, or at least 10. And so yeah, I still have the old one next to me. I just never turned it on because I'm sure it's not going to work.
I just like desktops. I don't really like lappies.
I just got used to lappies. That's as my primary thing. It's just like permanently on this like one like stand that I have. That's also like an air vent as well. So yeah. So yes, Republicans are fascists. Whoever doesn't
quite a bit
know
fascist. In fact, the thing I have queued up is Fascism by Umberto Eco. Figured we could go through the list and work out one by one how fascist
those
they
boxes, are. John, tick those boxes.
You make it sound so sexual.
Damn it! I've been found out.
Anti-fascist is inherently sexual.
Absolutely, yeah.
Everyone knows anti-fascists are coming for your ladies. And your men and everyone else.
We're
lock up your wives, lock up your husbands.
Oh, Christ. We've got a long and ongoing string of stupidity in this country as well. So, including a Premier League footballer, which you guys would call a soccer player, obviously, you're barbarians, has pressured the government to pay for children whose parents are on benefits to have free hot meals during the day when they are off school.
Okay.
And our lovely government have said...
So wait. What he's saying is he wants lazy people to get free stuff for nothing.
Children too.
Yeah.
Those children could be working in the mines, couldn't they? They could
Yeah.
be they could be walking the
If we
edges of
had
the
any
Thames,
left.
looking for
Yeah.
like bits of coal.
Mudlarking. They
Yeah.
could absolutely be mudlarking, yeah. But anyway, the end result was, after being deeply embarrassed about this, our government put it to a vote and said, no thanks, we'd rather be known as the government that starves the most vulnerable children.
I mean, it's. I mean,
You're
it's-
not locking them in cages, at least. You're not forcibly sterilizing their mothers. I mean, there's
Yeah, believe you me.
Yes, well, that's the thing. They're just following the British tradition. I mean, Margaret Thatcher starved the miners. Boris
Yeah.
Johnson's now starving the miners.
I believe they are sending each one of them.
that was a well done homophone, geek.
I saw it in I saw it on Facebook meme, so it's just like it was perfect.
I believe our government is going to send all these children a pair of bootstraps, though.
Bootstraps.
So they
That's what you use to whip the children until they work hard, right?
No. So now they no longer have excuse says I don't have bootstraps. So here you go. Here's some bootstraps now. Now pull yourself up from them.
Oh. It's kind of depressing, really. But completely unsurprising.
So
why do folks
fascism.
consider the Brog from Star Trek as a representation of communism?
The Borg? Oh
No, you said Brog.
I'm sorry, I'm dyslexic.
For those who are wondering what I'm talking about, I posted a call for topics on Patreon, and some random geek over here asked, "Why do people call the Brog, not the Borg, communism?" I'm pretty sure that although Star Trek was designed intended to be left of center, that the showrunners have always been pretty firmly liberal. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Gene Roddenberry kind of like intended the like 60s Klingons to be sort of a representation of like his imagination of what the US what must be like in the USSR at the time, and so that's kind of
Really,
like
I see them as a lot more American.
yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Jessie Gender explored that in the video essay Star Trek's race coding, and when you see like pictures of like Chinese people or caricatures of Chinese people and match it over with like the Klingons that they were representing in the 60s like original series, the race
Yeah,
coding.
they were very heavily yellow sphere coded.
And China's communist, so that's kind of like add to that as well.
But yeah, the Americans tend to think of communism as totalitarian fascism.
Yeah, and
That everybody will be forced to be exactly the same. Nobody will own anything. Everybody will have exactly the same stuff. Everybody will be forced to work. Everybody will be acting on behalf of the state at all times.
Mm-hmm.
As always, just American conservatives get it completely backwards.
I think the media and the political discussion around communism, or the use of communism as an insult, anyway, goes back to the McCarthyism, though, doesn't it? It's got real tones to straight out McCarthyism.
Yeah, then I try to sometimes I try to correct some people, and some people just never will listen, and they'll go, yeah, whatever, and then just like and never listen to me. So, yeah, I'm just gonna put the link to the Jesse Gender video into the live chat, and it's just like it sometimes comes up, but it's just like, hey,
Julie,
I'm passing.
Fuck off, Julie. Yes. Well, I wouldn't say conservatives project their shit onto everyone in heck. Instead, I would say the Fash project their shit onto everyone. Regular conservatives, a.k.a. Democrats,
yes,
are just ignorant.
yes. Regular conservative. The Democrats are the regular conservatives, with a few handful of actual progressives or like actual sock dems at best.
Mm-hmm. If you're going to use conservative to mean anything other than Republican, and as in somebody who's resistant to change, then the Democrats are clearly the conservative party.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were going to use conservative as just why use it as a synonym for Republican? We have Republican.
Yeah, exactly. The Republicans are it's the Republicans that are fast are just like it's yeah. I mean, like I have a essay open in my thing of like in Berkeley Echo the list of it, and
might be the same one I have. nybooks.com.
no, I pulled mine from like the Anarchist Library.
So everybody's curious why McConnell is covered with bandages and bruises.
Because he's the mummy.
People are saying that maybe it's because he had to be intubated because of COVID. Others say that it's because of blood thinners. All I know is I'm not a doctor. I hope he dies, but I'm not a doctor.
Good evening, Julie, by the way.
Hey, Ghost, and hey, Tom, a ghost hug for Julie. Yes.
Hey, Tom.
Yeah,
Yes.
Fuck tradition, hell the way of the changers. Yeah, and that's one of the features. The thing that's number one, the cult of tradition, and is again another great video essay by Renegade Cut on like traditionalists and the cult of tradition, and yeah, that's what a Trump has been like calling for a lot. The like make America great again. When is that? That's a good question.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's not just an appeal to the past. It's an appeal to a mythical past, a past that never actually existed. So the Nazis, hailed back to this weird combination of this neo-pagan Germanic history and Roman history. I mean, the reason they called themselves the Third Reich was because they were the third incarnation of the Roman Empire. That's why they had the golden eagles and the long red flags and the neoclassical architecture. It was because they were calling themselves Rome. And yet they brought in all this pagan iconography because they wanted to appeal to their Germanness. And so in the same way, the Republicans, they can't seem to decide whether they want to go back to the 1950s or the 1850s, but it's kind of both. They want Leave It to Beaver, but with slaves.
The same thing happened. The same thing happened in the UK with Brexit. It was built largely on a sort of
go back to the empire.
A post-war, but we still had a fully functioning empire, and everything was lovely, and everybody loved each other, and most importantly, there were no black people here at all.
Downton Abbey. It was all Downton Abbey is what they wanted to go back to.
Yeah, they've got a sort of we'd call it a chocolate box view of Britain.
I believe you mean Turkish delights.
Oh, God,
no. Referring to the candy from the fashy dipshit author.
Fry's
Narnia.
Turkish Delight was a thing.
Oh, C.S. Lewis.
C.S. Lewis, yes. That was the shitty candy that tempted
Edward
to sin.
Edward, wasn't it?
I can't remember his name. It was an E name.
It was Edward or Eustace. I can never remember which.
Maybe. Who gives a shit? He was a.
I haven't read the books. I did a book report on the first report. Yeah.
I would argue that the EU has done quite a lot for human rights and workers' rights, certainly within Europe. I'm not sure. I know what you mean about the economically, not so good. I agree. They tended to swallow neoliberalism wholeheartedly. But
Let's maintain the slave states so that we can keep
But-
on profiting here in Europe.
There has been quite a lot of positive stuff as well. This is why I was so fucking pissed off when we left, you know? Because I genuinely believe there's good stuff there and worthwhile stuff within the European Union.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that's the free movement of people was something that the EU was actually like good about, and that's something that I'm.
And that was one of the things that the Brexiters really hated. We have too many foreigners in our country, too many brown people, and Polacks.
It wasn't even brown people; it was Polish
people who talk funny,
or Romanians, or I mean, according to in the run-up to Brexit, I drove past a advertising hoarding that said 76 million Turks are waiting to migrate to Europe, migrate to Britain when they join the EU.
Gotta watch out for those Ottomans.
Now, that would pretty well depopulate an entire country at one fucking go. So I'm moderately sure somebody would have noticed. But people believed it, swallowed it, you know, wholesale, took it down. Oh yes, I saw that, David.
oh, that's right. That's one of the things that the UK is fighting over right now. Fishing rights.
It makes up 0.01% of our fucking economy, and that is the hill they are choosing to die on. What these morons don't seem to understand is that fishing, offshore, you know, trawling, deep sea fishing, whatever you want to call it, is done by a series of licenses, and the former British fishermen quite happily sold their licenses to other EU nations fishermen, and yet now they're the ones who are dripping like a septic cock about it. You'll feel free to edit that.
No, this show goes out live, brother.
I guess I'm glad we're not on Twitch because that will really break Twitch's TOS. At least we're not breaking like Starfleet Generation 46A. Well, give it time. But yeah, it's like. But parts of the UK government, like the Conservatives, were like also in favor of like fox hunting as well, which only the rich were part of. And it's just like,
yeah, there
Downton Abbey. They want to go back to the days of lords and ladies and the peasants knowing their place.
There was a very tenuous argument about fox hunting that it brought all country people together, because there were people who worked in the stables for the horses, there were blacksmiths, obviously, there were the people who ran the kennels. Now, that means about 10 people in total, you know. So in terms of its contribution towards rural economies, yeah, it didn't count for jack shit, but that was the argument a lot of these pompous Burks used. You know, it's amazing the number of them that had double-barreled names. You know, it was all double-barreled names. Yeah, it was.
Lord Julian Marquis Farquaad de fucking the Birkenschnuff.
That'll be the one, yeah. Yeah. And you know, some of the
Magister of Upper Left West Northern Titty Bottom.
Yeah. I mean, I live on technically a feudal section of land, because this land is owned by the Duke of Westminster, who is one of the richest men in the world. Be one of the richest men in the world. He used to be the richest man in Britain, but he isn't anymore. But technically, that makes me a A serf. Hooray! I'm a serf.
Yeah, I think about so I'm on someone else's land. So I'm the Dumoash land. I'm also near the Muckleshoot land and Pewab land. But yep, I'm on it. So I'm a settler. So got to do my part.
I think I'm on Creek land, or possibly the people who invented their own system of writing. People who were forced west, Trail of Tears.
Yeah.
I'm totally blanking on the name. It's a very well-known tribe, and yet starts with a C.
So let's see. Do you want to go back to the list of Eurofascism? Like if we ticked all the boxes in the United States?
Number 2, the rejection of modernism.
Oh yeah,
a little bit.
I mean, what does in the Donald Trump rejects? It's just like he rejects science.
They reject science. They reject enlightenment. They reject the gays and the trans. They reject anything new at all for any sake. Let's see, the rejection of the modern world was disguised as a rebuttal of the capitalistic way of life, but it was mainly concerned with the rejection of the spirit of 1789 and of 1776, of course. The Enlightenment, the Age of Reason, is seen as the beginning of modern depravity. In this sense, fascism can be defined as irrationalism.
and yet the like anti-feminists and like in the 2014 era from the New Skeptics would like always say that like, hold on, let me get the right hat for it, that I'm rational.
It's a trilby.
Again, I have them orange trees just in case I need to get ready.
Let's see. Number 3. Irrationalism also depends on the cult of action for action's sake. Action being beautiful in itself must be taken before or without any previous reflection. Thinking is a form of emasculation. Therefore, culture is suspect insofar as it is identified with critical attitudes. Distrust of the intellectual world has always been a symptom of fascism. I think we can safely say that, yeah, the Republicans distrust the intellectual world. A lot.
Yeah, it does. Which is part of the reason why like the right has made it the battleground of the liberal campus, as it were. Yes, like you gotta like fight against
postmodern neo-Marxism or cultural Marxism.
The corrupt ideas of the postmodern neo-Marxists, but also part of the other reason why the right makes the liberal art degree colleges the battleground as well is because some of those young men are just like or young people are in a vulnerable state because they're transitioning. They're finally out of like their parents' house,
and they're meeting someone not like them for probably the first time in their lives if they're coming from a conservative white suburb.
Yeah, exactly. And so that can be like scary for them, and that's where it's just like, hey, look at these people, they're a problem, they're asking us to respect our pronouns or whatever. The world is changing all around you, aren't you afraid of that? And that's actually the truth of like most conservatives. They're just afraid of like an existential threat, this were.
They're afraid of change.
And so irrationalism. And then number 4,
no syncretistic faith. That was part of the cult of traditionalism, is that they make up their history. It's bringing together a whole bunch of conflicting ideas. So they call it a syncretistic faith. A syncretistic faith can withstand analytical criticism. The critical spirit makes distinctions, and to distinguish is a sign of modernism. In modern culture, the scientific community praises disagreement as a way to improve knowledge. For fascism, disagreement is treason. And we have definitely seen this. Any disagreement with Trump.
Oh, yeah.
Any disagreement with them is anti-American, un-American.
Yeah.
Is
I should be investigated for treason. What the fuck are you talking about, man?
And it's like any dissent, even amongst his like party, he would like attack. He would attack, conservative that would like speak out against him. That's a war, and it's like maybe the conservatives back down, or maybe those conservatives like be never Trumpers and then join the other conservative party of the Democrats.
Besides,
I mean, I don't know with Trump if that was if it's just a reflection of his narcissism. I don't think it's. I don't think he's smart enough to construct a dialogue that allows for, him to create a fascist state. It's purely about him feeling insulted.
Yes, I agree.
It must be stopped.
Yeah, the difference between Trump and Hitler is that Hitler actually did write the book with his name on it.
Yeah.
But Hitler actually had an ideology. Hitler was a dedicated bigot and authoritarian. Trump is just a pathological narcissist who views any difference from himself as weakness and perversion. The more different you are from him, the more disgusting you are to him, I think. Which appeals to Trump's base because they like rich white guys.
We had footage on our news tonight of Trump voting, and my mum said, "He's in a bloody library. What the hell's he there for? He can't read."
Is that why he hold the book upside down?
Yeah.
It's why they had him signing blank papers when he got sick.
Oh, God, that was brilliant.
Right. They brought some papers for him to sign, and it's just like they were actually blank, nothing written on them. It's like, oh wow. I believe we're on number
5.
Number 5.
Disagreement is a sign of diversity. Fascism grows up and seeks for consensus by exploiting and exacerbating the natural fear of difference.
Oh, yeah.
The first appeal of a fascist or prematurely fascist movement is an appeal against the intruders. Thus, fascism is racist by definition. And yeah, the Republican Party has definitely done that.
Several times, yeah.
Multiple different ways. I mean, attacking gays and trans people, attacking Mexicans, build that wall, attacking Muslims, going to ban the Muslims. I mean, just over and over and over again. They seek to find, exploit every single bit of fear of difference they can.
Yep. The trans people are going to come into your bathrooms and like be a predator. That was the same thing as the gays, but like back in like 20 years ago.
And it was the same thing as black people 50 years ago. I mean, it hasn't changed.
It wasn't about like water fountains then. It's not about bathrooms now.
No, of course it's not. It's that is the overcoat on top of the undercoat. That's what they're using as the excuse for bigotry. Let's be brutal. It's bigotry.
The euphemism, the dog so as a word, they use it. It used to be about state rights, or used to be like protecting jobs, but it's like.
By the way, how are the Tories ticking these boxes? I mean, I know you have Nigel Farage, and he has his own little fashy parties.
UKIP Farage. Well, they're doing more. They are ticking more and more of these boxes.
They call the tradition, the rejection of modernism, irrationality,
the rejection of science.
Action for action's sake. I know Boris Johnson did do a ziplining thing.
Yeah, probably the best thing that Boris Johnson has ever done. That, although the sadness was that the wire didn't lash out and wrap round his frigging throat. We have a Home Secretary who is I don't know what the equivalent would be in the US, and she
Secretary of State, maybe.
Yeah, probably. And
no, Secretary of State deals with foreign affairs.
She's the daughter of immigrants, and yet she's like a Candace. She's like Candace Owens, except with power, because she was talking about. I mean,
She's Nikki
we
Haley.
have in this, yeah, we have a problem in this country, and it's a fairly small one, of immigrants, largely from Syria and some of the African states, trying to get over here, and they're coming over. They're coming into France, and then they're trying to boat over in basically rubber dinghies. And she was talking about
Wait,
setting
it's
up.
an invasion?
Yeah, setting up, and she was talking about setting up wave machines that would generate waves that were big enough to sink these boats. So yeah, we're
Wouldn't it be easier just to
definitely.
machine gun them? Cheaper too? I mean, aren't they
I
all about
know,
saving
I
money?
know, but you could think of the jobs you could create on those building wave machines. We have. We're certainly edging. We are definitely edging in that direction. There are still things that we aren't there about, but we're definitely heading that way. And
Has anyone said that, like, hey, at least we're not like the Americans?
well, I might have done.
Because I've heard that from Canadians. Hey, you guys have a much worse problem there. We don't have any like problems like racial injustice here. The Micmacs can probably say something differently right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's about whether you want to be aware or not, isn't it? It's about if you go out there, if you want to make yourself, if you have that intellectual curiosity to go and find out about these things, you start suddenly looking at them and going, "Jeez, this is getting bad," But the majority of people don't, It's here. Look at The Shiny, Strictly Come Dancing starts this weekend. There you go. Don't worry about anything. Just look at The Shiny. And it makes me very angry.
Well, why you gotta be so angry? Why can't you be nice and polite?
So we're now on number 6 now?
Yeah, you're right, David. It is supervillain territory. She is that bad. Honestly,
Why would you just kill someone when you could strap them to a table with a frickin' laser beam?
Her name is Pretty Patel, and it depends who you ask, but a lot of us call her either Pretty Vacant or Pretty Ugly. Yeah. But she's just ghastly. She's just... I mean, 2 years ago, she was sacked for going on she was a minister at the time, and she went on an unofficial visit to chat to the Israelis about doing stuff, and she's just such a vile person. She really is. She's Candace Owens in power, if you can imagine such a thing.
So she's Nikki Haley. You're Nikki Haley.
Yeah.
Nikki Haley, former governor of South Carolina. She was ambassador to the UN, I think, is what she is now.
Yes, I have heard about that. So number 6 we are on, I believe. Fascism derives from individual or social frustration. This is why one of the most typical features of historical fascism was the appeal to a frustrated middle class, a class suffering from an economic crisis or feeling of political humiliation and frightened by the pressure of lower social groups. In our time, when the old proletarians are becoming a petty bourgeoisie and the lumpen are largely excluded from political sphere, I agree with you. I have my problems with the phrase lumpen, but I'll continue. The fascists of tomorrow will find his audience in this new majority.
This is definitely part of Republican propaganda.
Yes.
They create the pressure by, driving the middle class into extinction. And then they exploit the fear of the dwindling middle class to say, oh, it's not the capitalists, it's the brown people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So looks like, just going back to what you were talking about, Myth, with Priti Patel. She might be kind of the Attorney General and
Okay.
Homeland Security,
Kind of, yeah.
dealing with law
that's-
enforcement and immigration stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, but we also have a Justice Secretary who is also brown and hates brown people. There was a huge.
Well, it's easier to kill brown people if you get a brown person to do it. You know, you
Yeah,
can say, look,
absolutely.
I have a brown friend, therefore it's not racism.
This was when Johnson won this damn election. There was a huge hoo-ha about the fact that it was the most diverse cabinet we'd ever had in this country, which, technically speaking, is true. However, they were all hardline Brexiteers. They were they didn't say it out loud, but there is definite currents of racism there. There is definite high degrees of privilege there. You know, a lot of, they're almost all privately educated and then went to Oxford or Cambridge, you know, and the usual guff. You know, when I'd finished burning down every business school at every university in the country, I would then follow around by burning down every private school in the country.
I believe you mean public school.
Yeah.
That's what you call them in the UK.
Yeah,
Everything is backwards on the other side of the pond.
I know. I was trying to not confuse the issue by recognizing the fact that I had mainly an American audience here.
It's okay.
I don't know. We have a surprisingly foreign audience as well.
Yeah, it's because Lefto Sax from Finland, David Scott, who said like C word of all colors when referring to the cabinet, I bet, is from Sweden.
Yeah. Except, as a friend of mine used to say, a C word is useful.
I mean, I'm also interested in the person with the C attached to them as well.
Absolutely. I don't think he was. He was really not. No. He was definitely not interested in the personality.
So let's see, and then number 7, to the people who feel deprived of a clear social identity.
White people definitely have that.
White people are the most suppressed. Christian white men are the most suppressed people ever.
Well, no, I'm saying that we don't have a clear identity because we have so thoroughly turned it into the mainstream that there's no longer a way to identify as anything really. It's just
I was just watching some more news, you know, the Cody thing.
Cody showed it,
he showed that clip of Candace Owens saying that I believe white people are the most oppressed people in the USA today. Huh? What on earth has she been smoking?
She's been smoking money. She's paid to say this shit.
Yes, exactly. And she's willing to do the grift, and so and so that's another thing that's just like, he even like points out Pat Robinson's New World Order. Oh God, that thing is just like. I think I have a friend that like share memes from a Facebook group about the New World Order.
AKA the Jews.
Yes, exactly.
It always comes down to the Jews here in the US and Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't we just leave them alone? We've been killing them forever, and well, it's because the Fash need an identifiable enemy.
Yes, exactly. And that's why they had to like bring out all those labels to identify this is a communist, this is a gay person, this is a Jewish person.
Mm-hmm. They need an other to attack. as part of what was it, 5? Yep, fear of difference. All right, 8. The followers must feel humiliated by the ostentatious wealth and force of their enemies. I do think
Soros.
that. Go ahead, Myth.
Soros is the example for that, isn't he?
Yeah, and also, they talk about the elites all the time. They think of Jews as being rich. They think of liberals as being rich, driving around in their fancy cars. New York Times readers, big city living, Hollywood elite. I mean, it's just always elite. And part of that is attacking academics, and part of that is deeply, deeply anti-Semitic. A lot of it. But also saying that we are poor and we don't like that. And they are rich. We don't like that. Hey, Pupperdew. Oh, you're going to go around the other side?
I'm fairly poor and I don't like that, but I don't give a shit.
Oh, hello, Wesley. We can't see you. The microphone's in the way. That's okay. There we go. There's Wesley. And there's Sasha!
I took Wesley for a walk beforehand. So this is just him begging for attention.
Such a needy dog. Oh, well. But that's why we love them. So that's definitely... I think so far we are, for the United States, we are like 8 of 8. And like... because I'm just like seeing it everywhere. So number 9, for the Earth fascism, there's no struggle for life, but rather life is live for struggle. Thus, pacifism is trafficking with the enemy. Interesting. Is bad because life is a permanent warfare. Yep, they always gone.
Your militias.
And also, this feeds into the Christian apocalypse narrative.
Yeah.
But also the fact that, they're always saying that the West is always at war with, for a long time there, it was communism, and now it's with...
terrorism.
Yep. And
Islam.
also... Yeah, Islam, and also we're gearing up for China.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
There's always an outside enemy as well as an internal enemy that has to be fought.
Yeah.
That's where after like China, it's also like a part of the capitalist thing of just like always needing to like breach into like new markets, and China is like trying
always
to
needing to expand.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that started with well, it didn't start with, did it? But it was given voice by Bush. If you're not for us, you're against us.
Yes. That was like, and that was a weird time in America after 9/11, after like the Twin Towers started falling, because we suffered an incredible tragedy and trauma, and then we all kind of like became almost a cult of like believe in the soldiers, trust the soldiers as they go off and fight a war on terror, as it were. And 18 years in Afghanistan and like 19 years are just like, and we are still there. And then Iraq, because possible weapons of mass destruction,
oil.
Yeah, but that's what it all is. It was all to like
it was securing resources, because the government and fascist government is uber capitalist.
Yes.
The difference is that fascism approaches capitalism from the idea of you serve the state, you serve the elite, whereas capitalism, the libertarianism says that the state serves the corporations.
Yeah.
It's always, one or the other. Whether wealth controls politics or politics controls wealth.
Yeah. I mean, I would say the United States has probably had a libertarian government for several decades now.
Pretty
much.
Yeah.
It's been more about serving corporations than serving the individuals, hasn't it?
Well, for true. Yeah. And a lot of for the last 10 years since the Tea Party, essentially, a lot of like libertarian talking points have been Republican talking points as well. Get the government out of our small business, as it were.
I noticed on that kind of point, I noticed the Gravel Institute put up a post the other day saying we've reached in 3 weeks what it took Pragapoo 5 years to achieve in the number of subscribers.
Oh yeah,
Well done them. Good job,
there's definitely a hunger in the market for, like, I guess the PragerU, but for the left. And it's like, hey, if they do convert more people over, or like at least educating people correctly on like the truth about these sort of things, yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'm
sort of thing.
not claiming it's going to lead to a socialist revolution,
Yeah, I doubt it.
but you have to start somewhere.
It might
Mhm.
be the start of something,
Yeah,
like maybe
you've
the
got
next
to-
generation.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're just opening people's eyes a little bit, you're starting to give them the idea that maybe it doesn't have to be this damn way.
Mm-hmm. What do you want to know more? Love the movie, never read the book.
I have
Oh,
read
boy.
the book. It's hard to tell how much what's his name Heinlein was seriously proposing that or just proposing that. But given that he, in all of his work, really loved the military and militaristic things, it's probably a pretty serious advancement on his part.
Kind of interesting that like other libertarians, from what I'm guessing, also seem to be fond of the military as well, or at least like I don't know.
It fits their hero narrative.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because the Fash love the hero ideology.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the book has very little to do with the movie, because like Paul Verhoeven for the movie just like took what was there in the book, but actually made it satire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the movie is only loosely based on the book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
I think Paul Verhoeven gets a lot less credit than he should do for that sort of thing. I mean, look at RoboCop was the same. It was straight up critique.
Yeah,
but
I love.
Whereas
RoboCop.
in the U.S., we are actively trying to build murder robots.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, like David Graeber said, it's just like, yeah, in 20th century, it doesn't seem like anarchism is like that viable of a political ideology, because in the 20th century, we were either fighting world wars, deadly violent wars, or preparing to fight deadly violent wars. And that's something that like anarchists are not good at, making mechanized killing machines. I think that's largely to our credit.
Yes,
Yeah.
quoting David Graeber.
I mean, I would call the Cold War the Third World War, to be honest.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have any problem
Well, it was
naming it
like every empire, the smart thing for the empire is to avoid the clash with the other empire, but instead fight proxy wars between your client states. And that's what the US and the USSR did. Afghanistan, Vietnam, South America.
So number 10, elitism is a typical aspect of any reactionary ideology, insofar it is fundamental, like aristocrats, and aristocratic and militaristic elitism cruelly implies contempt for the weak.
Fascism can only advocate a popular elitism. Every citizen belongs to the best people of the world, the members of the party, the best among the citizens. Every citizen can, or ought to, become a member of the party. Yes, absolutely. The U.S. is the best country in the world, and the Republicans are the best of the best. And you frequently hear it's becoming more popular among Republicans saying, "I'm a Christian first, a Republican second, and an American third." Something like that.
Yeah.
To say that they have to continually redefine the elite of the elite of the elite. I think it was Innuendo Studios who pointed out that fascism necessarily gets a narrower and narrower in group, as they have to continually redefine who is elite and who is an outsider.
Bill O'Reilly said in like 2007 of like the Mexicans like coming over and stealing our jobs, as it were a threat to the white Christian male power structure in America. And with that rhetoric continues, we got people that are willing to die for it now.
Mhm.
But we had people willing to die for it, like all the way down. No, willing to die and willing to kill for it all the way then as well.
He also goes on to talk about how this talks about, let's see, there can be no partitions without plebeians. In fact, a leader, knowing that his power was not delegated to him democratically but was conquered by force, also knows that his force is based upon the weakness of the masses. They are so weak as to need and deserve a ruler. Since the group is hierarchically organized, every subordinate leader despises his underlings and so on. Contempt for the weak is definitely a fetishization of strength is a big part of fascism. Hence, Trump had to come out, deny he had COVID. He had to go on steroids so that he could be hopped up and strong. And then, within a day or two, even though he was still obviously suffering, he had to go and do this big military gesture, standing on the balcony, gasping for breath to say, "Look how strong I am."
I beat COVID. Look at that.
And they're constantly attacking people who die of this disease, saying that if they were stronger, they would have done it. And they're saying that if your grandparents should be proud to die for the economy, things like this. They just don't care. If you're weak, you deserve to die. If you're strong, you deserve to live. And we mentioned just a minute ago about becoming a hero, the libertarian love of the military and militias. Number 11, in such a perspective, everybody's educated to become a hero. In every mythology, the hero is an exceptional being, but in fascist ideology, heroism is the norm. The cult of heroism is strictly linked with the cult of death.
Yes.
It's not by chance that a motto of the Phalangists was Viva la Muerte. In English, that should be translated as Long Live Death. In non-fascist societies, the lay public is told that death is unpleasant, but must be faced with dignity. Believers are told that it is the painful way to reach a supernatural happiness. By contrast, the fascist hero craves heroic death, advertises the best reward for a heroic life. Yeah, it goes hand in hand with the love of conflict, the eternal conflict, always fighting the enemy.
Yep. And have to fight it to the death. I mean, is it unsurprising that Kyle Rittenhouse, a 17-year-old, went to Kenosha, Wisconsin, as he did? I mean, it could be the Boogaloos, or it could be the Proud Boys, and it could be those kind of far right organizations that pretty much are now almost creating child soldiers with someone as young as Kyle Rittenhouse. But yet he was also a fan of the cops, as it were, and supporter of the Republican Party as well. So it's it could be the far right extremists, or it could just be the myth of the cop, or the rhetoric of
only a good man with a gun can stop a bad guy with a gun, right? And it goes with the idea of, in the post-apocalypse, everyone's going to be this hero soldier, hero warrior, rather than a farmer or a baker, right? Our post-apocalyptic literature is always full of war, death, and conflict, and never with living a life.
Yeah.
It would be kind of boring to watch a movie of just someone farming in the post-apocalyptic world, though. What? A slice of life anime in the post-apocalyptic world?
That would be a thing. No, that would be a thing.
I mean, we have lots of things, TV shows are better about this because they're longer format and they show people living their lives in addition to the conflicts. But it also deals with them having to solve real problems a lot of the time.
Actually, this Sunday Without God, this world without God. God basically said, "I'm out, you're all on your own," and then zombies are out, but they're people that are supposed to die. They can talk and hold a conversation, but they can't die. They have to be buried as well. That was actually a post-apocalyptic slice of life show. Amazingly chipper or happy despite his bleak premise. That's the word. Anyway, there's anime of any and all concept. Yes, I can tell you. I could probably guess it if you describe it. But at the number 12, since both permanent war and heroism are difficult games to play, the fascist transfers his will to power to sexual matters. This is the origin of machismo, which implies both disdain for women and intolerance and condemnation of non-self sexual habits, and from chastity to homosexuality. Since even sex is a difficult game to play, the Eurofascist hero tends to
Incels.
play with weapons. Doing so becomes a fascic experience.
An ersatz phallic exercise.
It's ersatz, yes. That was a new word I'd never seen before. Yeah, thank you.
Displacing their sexual frustration into the big boom boom.
Or like how Donald Trump is just like is magnified to like attractiveness. He just can't himself, starts cooking and grabs him by the naughty bits.
And the Republican Party as a whole, obviously, intensely sexually frustrated. Dealing with any deviation from the norm, sexual or otherwise, as a threat to themselves.
Degeneracy.
And they are intensely dedicated to the cult of masculinity.
Yes.
Like, fellas, is it gay to blank? Is the Twitter thing.
Well, and the whole trans movement and all that lot, is again that sort of, the man must go out and earn the money, the woman can stay at home and have the joy of raising my offspring. Ooh, thanks. Yeah. Gee, great.
Yeah. Oh, don't we all want sex? Yes, I agree. Just like once the pandemic's over, I imagine there were already a lot of babies because the cabin fever of like couples have to like don't have much time to do. It can't really go out, so might as well stay home. So more babies like that. I wonder how many more babies are going to be once the pandemic's over and finally like we can go out in public without masks and just like finally. I bet a lot of huggers. They'll be like hugging like meetings, cuddle parties. That's the word, definitely. Sure.
Cuddle puddles.
The lockdown in the UK started in March, and already the women's wards are expecting a massive uptake in use in January, February next year. Because about 2 months in to get to lockdown, people were just going at it like rabbits.
Hey, if you can.
No.
It's like how in the northern Midwest, you get a lot of children born in the fall. Because in the really, really cold months of winter, it's like, hey, you want to go out or what? And people say, or what?
So, number 13, Eurofascism is based on a selective populism. A qualitative populism, one might say. Don't know how to pronounce that word. Qualitative. Oh, I heard that word before, but never seen it in writing. So it's like my brain couldn't match both of those things. Like I said, I'm dyslexic. In democracy, the citizen has individual rights, but the citizen in their entirety have a political impact only from a quantitative point of view. One follows the decisions of the majority. For Eurofascism, however, individuals have no rights, and that people is concerned as a quality, a monolithic entity expressing the common will. Since no large quantity of human beings have a common will, the leaders pretend to be their interpreters. Having lost their power. Oh, yes. I'm all for the common people.
My bloody world.
I'm the voice of the common people.
Yeah, we have a mandate. I won by -3 million votes. Therefore, I have a mandate to rule. Everybody knows I was elected to lead.
Yeah.
I'm a war president.
We have had 4 years of being told that Brexit, no deal Brexit, is the will of the people.
The will of the people. Yeah. It's just like...
Just go away,
Basically, what this is saying is...
If that was truly the case, if it was truly the will of the people, they wouldn't have been so scared of holding a second referendum.
Yeah.
What this is saying is that even though fascists pretend to talk about the will of the people and play to populist base, they really only care about what they want, and the people become a fiction.
Yep.
And this is really true of the Republicans, because every one of their positions is an extreme minority position.
Yeah. I mean, what are the figures regarding Medicare for all? Something like 70-odd,
70-some%, yeah, and same with gun control and abortion and all the things that the Republicans are against. Is a large majority opposes them.
But they represent the silent majority, and it's just like, yeah, fuck off.
And because of its qualitative populism, fascism must be against rotten parliamentary government.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, meaning that they're opposed to democratic elections. They view any election they don't win as illegitimate.
Yeah,
it's almost like the long-standing Republican thing, I think, since Reagan, of like government bad, so we must shrink the government, as it were.
Well, that sounds very familiar, doesn't it?
Wherever a politician casts doubt on the legitimacy of a parliament because it no longer represents the voice of the people, we can smell fascism.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then finally, number 14. Fascism speaks Newspeak. Newspeak was invented by Orwell in 1984 as the official language of EngSoc, English socialism. But elements of fascism are common to different forms of dictatorship. All the Nazi or fascist schoolbooks made use of an impoverished vocabulary and an elementary syntax in order to limit the instruments for complex and critical reasoning. But we must be ready to identify other kinds of newspeak, even if they take the apparently innocent form of a popular talk show. I don't know about this one. I mean, we do get the limited and confusing vocabulary of Bush. We get the incoherence of Trump. But I think that the Republicans don't have a limited vocabulary so much as a false vocabulary.
I agree.
It's not so much newspeak as doublespeak. They're constantly inventing their dog whistles so that they can talk around a thing, so that they can speak in coded language to their base to say, look, I am racist just like you are.
International banking.
Yeah, the international banking, protecting jobs, states' rights, urban welfare queens,
elite,
oh God,
all over the place. I mean, they don't reduce the language so much as they just keep on coming up with codes.
I don't know.
It's called Fox speed.
Do they not reduce to the language with their the way they use their antagonism to political correctness? You know, it limits the use of language in a way that they kind of it gives them control over language by saying, no, that's just political correctness. You know, if somebody's saying, let's use a really common example, it's not a very good one, I guess. The 72 genders. Oh, that's just being politically correct. Well, no, not quite. There's kind of scientific basis for a lot of this stuff, but you know, it's I would argue there is a reduction in the language there. You know, a reducing of the language to fit their mindset, perhaps, to fit their narrative, which is a shitty word I hate using, but you know, it fits. It's with the story. It goes. Their anti-political correctness campaign is you know, does that.
And now that I think about it, I'm trying to remember, I'm vaguely recalling a news story, possibly analysis of political speech, saying that, like, basically Republican politicians tend to have the vocabulary of a fifth grader.
Yeah.
Or it might have just been Bush.
Yes, I was going to say that's a bit harsh on fifth graders, isn't it, for Trump?
I don't want to abolish government. I simply want to reduce its size where I can drag it into the bathroom and drown it in the bathtub. Grover Norquist.
And that's a lie. They want big government.
They
Oh,
want
yeah.
to protect the big government at all to protect the big businesses. They don't want any government to like protect the like little people, the workers.
What they actually mean is they want government that is no longer responsible for carrying out the prime come on, it's not motivation, but the prime reason for a government is to look after its citizens. They do not want government to do that.
No, they want government to control the citizens.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's for them. It's always an authoritarian hierarchy. Supreme leader at the top, a few lieutenants below him. They have their lieutenants. They have their lieutenants. Everybody in their place. And basically, everything that is not forbidden is compulsory, and everybody has to follow the same pattern, the same rules, the same logic. It's the Borg if they flew a pyramid instead of a cube.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Yeah.
Marty. Politically correct is just not being a dick. I agree. But unfortunately, there's far too many on the right who enjoy being a dick.
And
well, the complaints against political correctness, they weren't actually. I mean, they thought that they were pushing back against liberals in the left, but they weren't.
Mm-hmm.
They were pushing back against their own right-wing hierarchy.
Yes,
because the coded language was intended to make it so that they could appeal to the centrists, and thus you weren't allowed to say those things because it would alienate the people who weren't as hideously racist as the KKK evangelicals. And so the people they were actually railing against were their own leadership, even though they blamed it on the outsiders, the elites.
We had it here in the 80s, and there was a whole string of news stories in general, surprisingly enough, who would have thought it, the Murdoch press, that talked about people banning the use of blackboard, or people banning the use of the singing of Bar Bar Black Sheep in nursery schools and stuff.
We're changing
like
mailman to person, and Hebrew to Hebrew.
And it was just, I mean, because of Thatcher and all the rest of it, there was an atmosphere where people accepted it, and I still get it now. I still get told it now. Yeah, but they're trying to ban blah blah black shit. What are you talking about? Your kids are 3 and 4, and they're still singing it. So clearly, they failed to ban it, didn't they? You twerp.
They weren't even trying to ban it.
Yeah,
I think
they're always just making up bullshit.
Yeah,
they have to fight an imaginary enemy because they don't have a real enemy to fight.
Yeah.
It almost also seems like it is deserved almost as a bit as a distraction, and as well to like get people to focus on like say cancel culture so well, as opposed to like what's actually like happening, the actual failures of the government as it were.
Yeah.
Especially if like the right are in control of the government, they don't want people focusing on their failures, like minor strikes or something like that, or starving children. They want to focus on like, no, they're banning blah blah black sheep.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like that was like 13 14 at least, because we were just so Mithra, how well did the UK government did, because they got a lot of them too.
I'm pretty sure UKIP and the Brexit Party are very thoroughly fascist, but the Tories
yeah. Our current Tory government, probably 10, 11, maybe. I would, if I was being generous, I'd say 10. But on one of my more doom-soaked days, I might think it's a lot more than that.
Well, I'm pretty sure the weather in England is pretty doomy all the time, isn't
it? Yeah, absolutely, it is. We get all the bad stuff.
So since we covered like fascism and how fascist like countries are, there is some like good news that I'll like quickly share. Like, congratulations to New Zealand for like they won the Labour Party in New Zealand won I think a much more big share of like seats in their parliament than before, and they got like 50% of the votes, where the closest competitor that they had, I think the National Party opposition, only got 27% of the votes. And so Labour is going to have a best like 64 out of the 120 seats in Parliament as well. So I'm not too familiar with like New Zealand politics, and I didn't really research it before I shared this. Like, oh, Marty, you want to come in? I'm fine with like bringing you in. Yeah, let's like do that. We'll send you the link over on Facebook and Twitter just to cover my bases. So so come on in, Marty, and like give us your thoughts on these things and your opinions of what's going on in your life and everything. So as I do that, yes, good news to New Zealand, as like their Labour Party has now like more seats, and it's like compared to I'm sure the UK Labour, or at least definitely the Democrats in America, being as conservative as they are, or I see New Zealand as like they're at least far better at things than like other places, and definitely far better in this country. But it's nice to see that their center left party of the Labour is like have like still have like a command over their parliamentary government there over everything else. So like that's good news. But I think also like another big win. So congratulations, Greece. Yes. What happened?
They jailed the leaders, the former leaders of the Golden Dawn, their fascist party.
Really?
Wow.
Yes.
They've been around since forever. I remember Hans Krieger talking about them in the original Die Hard.
Wow. Oh, yeah.
Hans Gruber, not Hans Krieger.
Yeah, I was so bloody happy about that. Hey, Marty.
Marty, you can't hear a word we've been saying. Still connecting to audio. I'm going to go grab a soda. I'll be right back. Hello, Wesley. You're hitting right behind my chair.
So yes, the neo-Nazi chief in Greece, he's got 13 years in prison. Oh, he looks really grumpy in that photo. He's just like, I'm not happy with this. I'm not happy with this. I'm not happy with this. The Golden Dawn leader among members and sympathizers of fascist parties like handed jail sentences for a landmark trial. We were just talking about Eurofascism, and so now we're seeing that some fascists are actually going to jail. That's kind of nice.
And in the UK yesterday, a trial started of a neo-Nazi who planned to go to a legal company which specializes in helping immigrants get refugee status, and he was planning to go into this place and kill one of their lawyers specifically because of the immigration thing. But even our crappy police managed to catch this bugger, and he went on trial yesterday. So hopefully
our FBI managed to catch some white supremacists who were trying to kidnap the governor of Wisconsin.
No, Michigan. Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan, the Democrat governor of like Michigan. So the hasn't done much for the people of Flint other than take away the water stations that she put up. But she was the FBI did manage to like stop that like takeover and kidnapping of like the governor of like Michigan. So yeah, and Donald Trump, we shouldn't have listened to him, but he said something like maybe they should try it again the next day, or screw this Democratic governor like Gretchen Whitmer, belittling the attacking the opposition, the opponents of the word, kind of like we mentioned in the Eurofascism thing. Yeah.
Lou Dobbs is attacking Lindsey Graham.
What?
Ooh.
Lou Dobbs of Fox Business
Have they mixed up his medication?
went after Senator Lindsey Graham, asking why anyone would vote for the Republican lawmaker just weeks before his hotly contested election. This is from thehill.com. Dobbs lashed out at the Senate Judiciary Committee chairman and this is, you'll start to understand why Dobbs is going after him, for not subpoenaing the left-wing heads of the censorships, Twitter and Facebook.
Oh no! Oh God!
he's attacking Lindsey Graham for not being fascist enough.
You know, you couldn't make this crap up, could you? You really couldn't.
I don't know why anyone in the great state of South.
For a second, I thought like, well, it's am I?
Whoa!
This is the guy who keeps saying, "Stay tuned." He said he would get to the bottom of Obamagate with the Judiciary Committee, which has been a year and a half, actually longer, of absolute inert response to these pressing issues of our day.
Somewhere in a cold, damp forest, the body of satire gently rots.
Marty, can you hear us now?
I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Because I am unmuted.
Yes.
I am out in the lovely
Oh, you've been out for years, haven't you?
English weather.
So
not too doomy.
It's raining
today,
sideways. Yeah,
I know that. Yes, I know that feeling.
it's like the Forrest Gump sideways rain.
Yes.
I think
you
you're further south than me, aren't you, Marty?
Southeast. Yeah, I'm in Kent. I'm in the
Yeah.
lovely city of
Kent was southwest.
Medway Towns. Southeast.
Okay.
Okay.
There's so much I don't know about English geography.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure you want to.
I mean, the Brockmans originally came from Kent. I don't know if you know that.
I also
Really?
came from Kent, but that's the city that's across the road from where I am actually. But that's because we named that city Kent.
You know what?
So did Charles. So was Charles Dickens.
Oh, Charles Dickens from Kent. Nice.
Rochester, I believe. But anyway.
Yep. He
Anyways,
was born in
regardless.
Rochester.
What I wanted to jump on here and say was,
No wonder I look so much like Charles Dickens.
well, he did fool around on his wife. So you never know. Ancestry.com. Anyways, I called in because on the Trans Advocate, UK Trans Advocate account, I've got a turf that is actually self-harming, really. They're upset that the NHS has badges with pronouns on them. These badges basically are it's a program that helps patients identify the people that are taking care of them better. So basically, this person is upset because people's pronouns are on there. So basically, they're willing to self-own and get worse patient care to own the trans people. But I do think that in the larger point, I think that's what Republican voters do. You know, when they hear abortion, when they hear all these dog whistles, they're getting their interests met, but they're being fucked. You know, you know what I mean?
Well, that's how bigotry always works.
Their life.
The elites use your bigotry to advance their own agenda.
To make you punch yourself in the face.
Marty will confirm this. The same applies in the UK.
Oh God, yes.
This is why we have this phenomenon of the working class conservative voter. You know, they've got this idea that they're looking out for them. In fact, you hear it all the time.
I live in one of the poorest areas in the Southeast.
Yeah.
Chatham and Gillingham area.
I know it. Mhm.
And let me tell you, these people vote conservative all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I walk down the street, especially the high street, and I'm like, why? Why are you voting conservative?
Well,
There's only one reason. There's only one reason. Because
Racism.
they want to get the immigrants out.
Oh.
You know, they dog whistle that and they blame everything on immigration.
Yep. Absolutely.
We're too full. We're too full. And it's absurd. It's absurd.
I had a discussion with somebody when I was taxiing about 2015. So it was the run up to Brexit, and her this young woman's argument was that she wanted Brexit because it meant the immigrants wouldn't be able to come here, and she would be able to get into a house where she would have enough bedrooms for her children. She was 3 months short of having her fifth. And I kind of suggested that maybe using contraception might be a better idea.
What?
But
no, because the
and
world
that way you
needs
wouldn't
more
need all the
white.
bedrooms,
You
would
are
you?
trying. You are contributing to the white genocide. Okay,
Yeah,
that's what you're doing.
absolutely, I am. You're damn right.
The great replacement. That's
really-
what you're doing.
The really interesting thing is that in the UK, London, there are 12 million people. So the rest of the UK is 60 million, or well, altogether
Yes,
60
Steve,
million.
it does.
12 million of those people live in London. So
9
there's
million.
there's plenty of room here.
Yeah,
There's plenty
yeah.
of room here.
This
You go
argument that you hear it quite frequently. Well, there's no room here. We're overcrowded. Have you ever been to Caithness and Sutherland in Scotland? There's no fucking miles. You know,
I mean, even the big cities are small,
yeah.
you know, in comparison.
Oh,
But-
yeah. I mean,
But
Manchester is what, 3 million?
yeah,
Birmingham is about 3.5. You know, these are not seething metropolises straight out of.
Well, when they say that they're too crowded, they mean there's too many foreigners. That's all. Meaning there's any
yeah,
foreigners.
we also
Yeah,
have
but
this very, very curious thing in the UK about, and I've heard it round here. Poor people live in the towns, and the way you can show that you have improved yourself and made money is by moving out and living in the countryside. I think we might be missing something here. That only happened after the war. Because in the years running up to the war, there were still lots and lots of agricultural workers living in what are now highly desirable residences.
Anybody feel
Yeah.
like maybe we should just burn it all down?
Burn what exactly?
White people.
No, yes, I'm all against it's like white people.
Oh,
by the way, you guys, I'm on video now.
Mhm.
Yes.
If you think I was kidding,
oh God. Oh,
Well, it is pissing down there.
That's a pleasant evening walk in England.
Well, it's only a little doomy.
I'm pleasantly walking then.
I'm used to that, like being in the Pacific Northwest, except that it's nice and sunny and clear blue skies right now, but like it's kind of cold. We do it the old-fashioned way. Tevi, Marty is from Wisconsin. Yes, she has walked all the way over several hills in the snow, 4 feet of snow every morning
yes.
to and from
David.
school.
Yes,
Uphill
it does
both
have
ways.
a suburb-like thing. It really does. Yeah, there is definitely a thing about people moving out of the suburbs if
Yeah, they don't want to live in London anymore, so they move to Port Wen.
oh well we've got this bloody I mean there was this ridiculous thing on the it may have been on the TV, I can't remember, but they had this thing on the
You mean
TV
the telly?
or the radio about estate agents are reporting that people are wishing to move out of the cities and into the countryside. Well, I'm already here and they can fuck off and leave me alone.
Yeah.
I mean, these are the sort of people. Some friends of our family had guinea fowl, and they kept them for God knows 30 years or more. Not the same ones, obviously. Yeah, I know.
Mhm.
And some people moved in next door, and within a matter of months, they had to have them destroyed because these townies moved in and complained about the noise they were making. You're in the countryside, get used to it. Also, get used to the delightful smell and when the jolly farmer goes out spreading muck all over his fields.
I know that smell. I drove past. I've been a passenger as we drove past farms before. It's like, oh my God, what's this? Oh, there's a whole dairy farm there. That's why.
I think you're frozen, John. Jonathan.
So Steve. No, not Steve. John Brockman. Heavy
Yeah.
internet's unstable, unfortunately.
Yes, your internet is unstable. What were you going to ask me, Jonathan?
Fishy Fashy, do we have some?
Yes, they broke me yesterday. I was hunting around and I found 3 things so goddamn stupid that I had trouble coming up with a way to make it fake.
Oh, jeez.
All right, so our fishy fashy.
Mm-hmm.
We have Nick Fuentes, James Lindsay, and TJ Kirk, the amazing atheist.
This is the first appearance of TJ Kirk on Fishy Fashy.
Oops, accidentally closed the thing. All right, so first up, Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes thinks that the SJWs have taken over the Republican Party.
Because of political correctness, that's what we mentioned before.
Yeah.
James Lindsay thinks that Big Jew is funding globalist efforts to force educators to be kind about pronouns. And TJ Kirk thinks that Trump is secretly a Stalinist.
That would break me.
I need a drink now.
So why don't we go ahead and start with Marty? You've been suspiciously quiet.
Yeah, because I'm now like a sponge. I've acquired all the water from the rain, which is still going. I'm gonna kind of go against my better instincts, and I'm going with Kirk.
You think that Kirk does not think that Trump is a Stalinist? Okay, and Myth.
I'm pretty. I think the Fuentes one is true, and I think probably. So the other 2 are false, aren't they? But
Only one of them is false.
You're looking for one of them to be false. So okay, I'm stuck between. So Fuentes is true, and God, yeah, TJ Kirk's a bit of a knob. He's going to come out with something like that, isn't he? He is going to come out with something like that. Yeah. So Lawson, was it?
James Lindsay.
Lindsay is the false one. I'm going to say.
James Lindsay.
And Jonathan. Oh, you went unstable again.
Did you hear me?
Nope. There you're back.
Okay. Okay. Nick Fuentes. I think it's Nick Fuentes is the fake one.
Okay, you think it is Fuentes. So, looks like we are evenly divided on this one. So, let's just go ahead and take them in order. If you look to the YouTube, you will see in about 20 seconds. Nick Fuentes. They are pitching us a new GOP led by Nikki Haley, female, Tim Scott, black, and Madison Cawthorn, disabled. None of them are actually conservative, but they all check a box. It's the intersectional socialist left versus the intersectional neoliberal right.
Oh,
and he followed it up with, oh, and Rick Grinnell, gay. So yes,
Wow.
Nick Fuentes thinks that the woke scolds have taken over the Republican Party.
God.
Mm-hmm.
And now, if you look to your screen, you'll see James Lindsay, who has branded himself Sexy James Lindsay. Probably because of Halloween. Teaching tolerance is a menace. There should be an army of real journalists digging as deeply as they can into where they get their money and what they do with it. I bet there's a lot of golden threads to pull all over the place with them. Teaching Tolerance is an organization that teaches people to be tolerant. And they are advocating here for pronouns. So yeah, James Lindsay is saying that they're being secretly funded by someone. So that one
George
is
Soros.
So that one is also true.
Damn.
Now, the TJ Kirk thing, kind of a twofer. It took me a while. He's kind of weird because on the one hand, his first tweet is sustain the fight, general strike, January 20th, steal inauguration day, demand UBI, $15 an hour, paid sick leave, paid vacation, universal health care, federal jobs and housing guarantee, demand it from Trump, demand it from Biden, demand it from whoever is in power. Which, I mean, is kind of a lefty kind of thing to demand, you might think. And then you see his other tweet, which says, I guess we can admit it now, since it makes no difference. Biden is basically Stalin reincarnated. Soon the gulags will open again, and all who oppose the Biden-Sanders agenda will be re-educated. So no, he didn't call Trump Stalin, he called Biden Stalin.
So basically, with Fishy Fashy, I'm undefeated.
Yes.
Yes.
So you get to send your butts on.
This is my first time.
That counts. And Jordan B, I'm right for once.
Well, you wonder, especially with the Nick Fuentes, you wonder if, like, this is what happens to grifters when they have nowhere to go. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, they've squeezed every Patreon dollar they can out of the right, so they go even more right and more right until. I mean, who are they trying to grift off of? Like people that are home cowering, not leaving their house because the Russians are coming? I mean,
I seen that movie.
Red Dawn.
Wolverine. Just like in our current opening for the podcast, with those clips, it ends with Red Dawn with like Wolverines.
Wasn't there a Call of Duty game when North Korea invaded the USA?
What's that?
Wasn't there a Call of Duty game where the North Korea invaded the USA? Was it?
It
wouldn't surprise me.
It was Homefront. It was it was like a Call of Duty like, but it was just like a different franchise. Actually, I think that's the only. Yeah, but same type of game essentially, military shooter as it were. We're full of politics, so which people deny.
No, it's not political.
I play Rainbow Six Siege. You know, I mean.
Well, I play Wolfenstein. I think it's 2. That's very political and it's very anti-fascist, very Antifa led.
Yes, I think I've seen people complain about that. Yeah, they were the
Why
official.
does it have to be so political? Why do the Nazis always have to be the bad guys? Why can't the Nazis be the good guys?
Oh yeah, it's just like and like Hank said when we had him on like a month ago, it's like his aunt or like lived through the German occupation of the Netherlands at the time. So when she's Hank as a kid
You're
playing
breaking
a
up again,
game on
geek.
the computer with and the swastika in the game, it's like what are you doing? Fucking hell. I can't tell when it's unstable on my end.
She saw the swastikas in the game,
I
said,
back?
"What the hell?" And he said, "Don't worry, we're killing them."
Yes.
I'm carrying a bucket full of Nazi heads.
Oh, don't do that because Kathy Griffin got in trouble with this severed head Trump.
Oh God, yeah.
Do you remember? God, that was so long ago. What was that, like 3 years ago?
Yep, 2017, I think.
God, we were all so young and innocent then.
Mr.
Well, kinda.
You said, Mr. You said you were driving a taxi.
Yeah.
Back in it wasn't in the southeast, was it?
No. Oh God, no.
Oh, okay. I thought you had been in the southeast around the. I literally came to this country 2 weeks before Brexit. Which
I'm so sorry.
I know. I'm not seeing the best of this country.
No.
Yes, you are. You're in
No.
Kent. That's where the rich people are, right?
Kent is the Garden of England, it's called.
You know what? Here, my patient. I said that to a patient once, and he came back with it. He said, "Well, if Kent is the garden, then Gillingham is the fertilizer."
Yeah. Well, if you ever fancy a road trip up north, Marty, you're welcome to come and stop with us.
Oop north.
Where are you?
Just south of Lancaster.
Okay, because I get
That's-
around with my union quite a bit. So,
Yeah, well, we're about
not-
half an hour away from the Lake District and 45 minutes from Manchester.
Are you guys locked down right now?
Semi lockdown at the moment. We're on tier 3, so no unnecessary journeys, no socializing, but that's fine with me. I hate people anyway.
So this is like one of the ways that Boris Johnson is a lot like Trump in that he punishes labor constituencies.
Yep.
And he's doing it right now with Manchester.
Yep.
And
absolutely.
Andy Burnham. Basically, they were paying people that were furloughed. They were paying them 80% of their wages.
Mm.
And they've come back with this, that they're doing, I forget what they call it, like regional lockdowns.
Yeah.
And basically they're telling them now they're only going to give them 60%.
Yep. Yeah.
So fuck you.
You're
going to live on 60% of what you once lived on. How does that work?
Yeah.
You just pay your rent and don't eat?
It's really funny as well because the guy who is the mayor of Manchester, who is called Andy Burnham, he about 12 years ago he was he was part of Blair's cabinet. He was a minister under Tony Blair, and I had friends who were very much further left than I was at that time, and they hated him. He hated him, and now he's turned into rather a kind of left-wing firebrand because he's fighting Johnson, But he's not the only one. There are other mayors and councils that are suffering. And yet the Conservative housing minister managed to palm off, what was it, 25 million for his constituency? There was an emergency fund put to one side to help the places that were worst hit. And It was only supposed to go to the top 100, but Robert Jenrick, the housing minister, wangled it so that his constituency, which was 207th on the list, got a it might have been 25, it might have been £250,000 grant to help. So because he's one of the chums, because basically that's what I mean. People say British politics. I've talked to Nigerian people and stuff, and they say, "Oh, there's no corruption here." And I go, "Yeah, there is. It's a different sort of corruption, but yeah, there's still plenty of corruption here."
Well, and that's something that I find really intriguing, because coming from America to here, I always found things to be conservative, but in a different way. The papers here are fucking, I mean, it is just like, it's Fox News in print times 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And the whole country is run by 5 people.
Yeah.
Because all the older people, instead of watching Fox News, they go and get their Daily Mail, they go and get their the Times, they go and get these different papers. And I honestly think Novara Media puts out a lot of stuff about labor and why you should stay with labor, and I'm just
literally
like,
a communist, you idiot.
Yes. but people should, to me, should focus on the first thing, and that is getting these 5 people out of a position where they influence the people that vote.
Yeah.
And kill the royals.
Well,
Lefto,
I can't say that.
I can. I'm quite happy to. Lefto, yeah. Novara Media, they're okay. They are.
I have a crush on Ash Sarkar.
Oh, fair enough.
Oh yeah.
I would say they are a bit inflexible sometimes in their viewpoint.
Yeah.
A bit too hardcore Corbynist.
Yeah, I get a sense of that, yeah.
And I think you've got to be really careful about it, because you have to be able to look at something and say, we're not fighting the same battles that we were in the 70s and the 80s. The days of
Follow the plan, not the man.
Yeah, the days of mass protests at power stations are gone. Our fights have to be done in a different way now. I mean, fuck me, I've got a scar somewhere here from fighting fascists in the 80s. One of the reasons I keep my hair long, but we're not. That's still there, but the really big political movements, the Extinction Rebellion movement, the anti-poll tax riots in the 90s, they've changed the way we protest in the UK, I think. And the anti-fracking movement as well, because it was a lot of middle-class people. Yeah, and so the potential for naughtiness was not quite so high. It's difficult to be, it's difficult to go off on, and do something a bit crazy, like painting a statue of Winston Churchill black, when there is a lady who looks like your granny staring at you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what really concerns me more than anything is, like, and this is happening in the States with anarchists, in the same way it was happening back in the 50s and 60s for communists. Basically an ideology. I mean, I thought democracy was about having a debate about this in the marketplace of ideas. And communism and anarchism being part of that discussion, but it's not. They want to make that speech illegal, And they're doing it over here.
Mhm.
Literally, they're trying to get to make it so that critical race theory cannot be taught in the schools here.
And anything that teaches that capitalism isn't right.
How can you get things to change when you can't talk about the actual foundations that you need to analyze and change? And they know that. They know that. I've gotten pretty fucking cynical over the years, but I just feel like I feel like I've been radicalized, but I don't think it's me that's been radicalized. I think it's the world is becoming more radicalized around things that like fairness and equality and these things. Basically, you can't have equality if you don't talk about racism, sexism, homophobia. Because those are the foundational structures. You can't change them without talking about them and acknowledging that they're there. But so they want free speech when they want to talk about racist shit, like with Trump, but they don't want speech when they're talking about actual history. Yeah, actual history. What is it? The 14. The project that is actually teaching kids in America actual history instead of this milquetoast revisionist.
You mean the racist reimagining of history to make white people look bad?
I think that's the 1619 project.
Yes. And there was when I was in Indiana, there was somebody that tried to the governor of the state tried to get. He became the head of Purdue University, and he tried to get Howard Zinn's People's History of the United States banned from curriculum within the state. And it's mind-boggling. But the reality is that the people that control the history control the narrative and control the people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways,
that was kind of interesting to hear Donald Trump actually name drop Howard Zinn when he announced what was that, the Pro-American Education Initiative or something like that. He wanted the 1776 version of it, as it were,
well, this guy's a fascist when his hero was a fucking slave owner that murdered hundreds of thousands of Indians, of Native Americans, with the Trail of Tears.
Cherokee, that's the name I was trying to think of earlier.
John Bronx on Cherokee land. That's what he was trying to remember. Yes.
Yeah, I think.
But Andrew Jackson was a vile.
Oh, he was a genocidal monster.
Yes. Yes, and for him to be his hero, it just tells you all you need to know. But I'm hopeful now because I've looked at the polls. But to be honest with you, I don't know why I care because I'm here and I don't plan on coming back to America. But every time that I wake up and I see something stupid that Trump said or done, and just showing, I mean. I literally had my son, who is 30, call me crying, and he ended up having a $250 phone bill because he called my actual phone number instead of letting me call him. But so it was a long distance international call, but he was crying, and I thought somebody had died, and. What had happened was that there was a protest in Indianapolis, where I'm from originally, and they had shot people with rubber bullets and shot people with tear gas canisters, and people were getting hurt and stuff like that. He didn't know what to do. He didn't know where, because he wanted to do something. He wanted to understand and everything. But to see him that upset, it just really kind of knocked me back to see what America has become, even just since I left.
Yeah.
It's scary, and it's I hate to say it, but all around the world, this kind of fascism is being led by the rich, the wealthy, the uber rich. And no, not the Jews. George Soros is on our side.
Yep.
But you have these forces that literally turn the people against their own best interests, and I just I mean,
if you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best black man, he won't protest as you pick his pocket.
Yep.
Well, and you can look back through history and you can see this happening over and over again. It's just frustrating to live through it.
But there are at least some good things. Also, in worldwide election results, put in a link in the Guardian. From Common Dreams, actually. Bolivia. The Mass Party, Movement of Socialism, Evo Morales' party, Morales. Thank you. Won in a landslide by 20 points. It's a far better victory than like Evo Morales had in 2005, and so that's really good news for Bolivia, especially since the coup that America backed happened last year. So final election happened. The Mass Party wins. Fingers crossed that it stays that way for a long time, knowing how even Elon Musk boasts that we'll coup whoever we want in a deleted tweet. Hopefully,
which we always do there.
Yeah. Hopefully, things are looking up, and hopefully things stay the way that they are. And
the thing is, though, Biden will support that bullshit too.
Yeah.
He's just as much of a
liberal imperialist, neoliberal imperialist. He'll be slightly less genocidal, slightly less racist, and as far as I know, he's only got the one rape accusation instead of dozens.
Yeah, no doubt. But my big thing with that is. I laugh every time I hear somebody say, well, Russia, there's another thing to do with Russia being involved with the election. And I'm just like, holy fucking shit. Are you kidding me? The United States is the biggest disruptor and coup leader of the entire fucking world. Shut the fuck up when you're talking about Russians coming over here changing our elections. Your country, the United States, is the worst, bar none, country in the world when it comes to overthrowing democratically elected governments.
Yeah, and when some have suggested, not to say it's a good thing, but it's maybe this is America getting their comeuppance for backing so many some liberals will get really defensive when you make that assertion as well. I've seen it.
Well, the whole reason Russia is the way it is today is because Clinton installed Boris Yeltsin back in the 90s. So. What do they say? Chickens coming home to roost.
Yeah,
I mean, and it never changes because you look at Nicaragua, you look at Iran during the 50s and 60s, and there's always an enemy that we create. Iraq, same thing. They were our allies in the 80s, and then in the 90s they weren't. Because. It's just a funneling, and the American
created
people,
Bin Laden. We created ISIS,
and it's just. Can you imagine if a politician said, "Look, China spends 110 billion. They're our second. They're the second largest military in the world. They spend 110 million or billion a year on their defense. We're gonna just say." We're going to do double that. And we're going to spend 220. That would save us $500 billion a year. Imagine what the United States could do with $500 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could become that great country that that your politicians keep saying it is. With that
We're not there yet because the libtards kept getting in Trump's way. They stopped him from making America great again.
Yeah. Well, you know what bothers me, and I kind of wonder why it doesn't happen. Why isn't Biden saying when Trump says, "Well, this is what's going to happen during your administration," that Biden just doesn't fall back and say, "I didn't have riots during our administration. We literally weren't shooting people in the streets with rubber bullets and taking people off the streets." Why isn't he doing that? To me, I don't understand, because that is.
Biden also made a statement of he just the violence in the streets because of these violent anarchists as well. Against defund the police, he wants to refund the police and retrain the police. He made some comments suggesting it's better to shoot in the leg than in the heart. So it's kind of oh, so we're going to be shot still, or some of us are, or the black people are. And so, yeah, this is kind of concerning. Is not going to say that Biden's fascist. No, I'm not making that false equivalence at all. He's just a neoliberal, definitely not a fascist. But yet, oh man, Ferguson happened under Biden. So it's Anarach happened during the Biden. So it's just I don't know. It's kind of sucks that he's the worst option that we have right now, Biden, as it were. So
can I just say that you guys had someone on a couple weeks ago that I literally had to shut the program off. I'm sorry, but literally the one thing that drives me absolutely bonkers is the fact that people will not admit that Bernie Sanders is a bad campaigner and fucked his own campaign up by trying to get the wrong people on board with him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Good night, Lefto Satzak.
Night, Lefto.
Oh, good night, Lefto.
I can't stand when people on our side, supposedly, actually don't hold the people that are their quote heroes to account. I think they should be held to account just like everybody else.
In fact, if anything, if we're going to describe them as heroes, they should be held to a higher degree of accountability.
Mm-hmm. And then I do agree that there's a lot of things that Bernie did not do in order to win the primary. He did not seek out the black vote. He did not seek out the queer vote.
He's running to the center.
Yeah,
he's being conservative.
The white center.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He also double platformed Joe Rogan. Thanks, Joe Rogan, for your endorsements.
Well, and my whole thing with that is, if he was running as an independent, that might have worked. If he was running as a Republican, that might have worked. But it doesn't work in the Democratic Party, where you have to win elections. You have to win primaries. And those primaries, especially the early ones, are dominated with people of color that are older, and Latinos that are older. And you have to, and I mean, from the LGBT community you can just go and connect the dots around Bernie Sanders' campaign and why it failed. And it wasn't some big conspiracy. It wasn't the DNC. It was Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
And the sooner that we address, that's the biggest thing about the Democratic Party, that why they have the potential to, they should be there should be no question, because but there are literally still about 40% of human beings in the United States that support Trump. 40%. You meet 10 people, 4 of those people are going to support this guy.
That's 40% of likely voters. That's a different thing. So it's 40% of the 40% of the population that votes.
It's still a fuck ton of people.
Yes, it is far too much, but it's still only 1 in 6 people, not 4 in 10.
But I mean, even when Bush wrecked the economy, the world economy, got us into 2 wars, and when Obama came into office in 2009, George Bush was still polling at 28%.
Yeah.
I've always called them the bears, the baby-eating Republicans. The dear leader could go live on national television and eat a living baby, and they would say, "Yep, that's okay." That baby deserved it. He was a terrorist. He was an illegal immigrant. Whatever they have to do, they will justify it because he's their guy. That's all.
Wait a second. I think you're describing Donald Trump.
But I mean, the same applies with some Democrats, though, doesn't it? I mean,
to a far lesser degree, but
oh yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, but there are certain there's a certain person who we know who is my party
first.
and no other, who even tried arguing that business about Bernie being a sexist pig towards Elizabeth Warren, and it was just okay. It was purely because of their idea that the Bernie bros cost Hillary the 2016 election, and it was just like, oh, come on, I think there were
so gamified, though. It's so gamified. It's like,
yeah,
you're not on my team.
Yeah, that's part of the problem, though, isn't it? It's that we get the same problem in this country. I don't care what they do; they're good for us. What? Hold on a minute. I mean, for a start, they're not. Yeah, it's
Well, the incredible thing is, as a immigrant to this country, and an NHS employee.
Typical, taking those hardworking British jobs.
Exactly. Coming over here, taking their jobs. That's exactly what I did. Because I'm a white American, I've never heard anybody tell me that. Never. They've never told me I came over here and took one of their jobs. But I'm sure if somebody had a Russian accent or,
we're brown,
they'd be right on them.
When I was taxiing it and after Trump got elected, because we're a university city, we get a lot of visitors, and whenever I picked Americans up, my first question was, "Oh, you must be from Canada then," because none of them wanted to be the one. No, I'd rather be. I wish I was though.
You know what? That is literally a joke that I tell my patients. They say, "Are you American?" I say, "No, I'm Canadian until Donald Trump's not president."
Yeah,
because he's an embarrassment. I mean, and most people here see that. You know what's scary? There are people over here that support him.
Oh yeah,
there are Trumpers, literally Trumpers over here. And you know what? Really, again, it's fundamentalism that is the problem. It's non-religious fundamentalism. I see it with TERFs over here. I see it with I see it with Brexiteers. They would rather fuck their country and get the immigrants out. It doesn't matter to them. They don't care what the cost is.
Nope.
They don't.
No,
And
they
it's
don't.
like-
You're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. And
It's
there
just
are
breathtaking.
there are two groups of people that do that. There is and I'm just about to cause some offence to my friend Eva, but it is working class people, I'm afraid to say, who pull the jobs card about immigration in this country, and the other ones who really don't care how much damage is done to Britain are the high echelon, the high earners, the people who've got their money safely stashed away in the British Virgin Islands, who live in Monaco so that they don't have to pay tax, who at the same time are quite happily able to splash over the front page of the Sun that Sir Mick Jagger says he will leave Britain for good if Labour wins. Well, you don't pay any fucking tax here, you shriveled old bitch. So who's going to notice? You know, it's... Sorry, Diva, didn't mean to cause any offence if you're still here, love.
It's the chocolate and peanut butter fascism has always been rich people using poor people's bigotry.
Yeah.
Rich money and poor bigotry is the combination that fuels fascism.
Yeah.
What I always go back to, and the question that I always ask is, because I'm not a violent person and I would like to see things change without a lot of bloodshed, but how?
I agree. That's I understand what anarcho-pacifists and other like people who say, because I hear it all the time from liberals when I just mention revolution, they'll say that like if there's revolution, all the vulnerable people go in the meat grinder, or no, I know people who lived through the 1917 Russian Revolution, it was hell, and I'm sure there's some truth to that, but to me, it's just like, in order to come from the world we have now, late stage neoliberal capitalism with white supremacy, ancestral patriarchy, ableism, and imperialism and colonialism, all the way to like fully luxury automated gay space anarcho-communism in that period, whether it's like we use mutualism or anarcho-syndicalism, but during that period, that transition, there will be powerful people, whether in government or in businesses or in corporations, that will refuse to give up their power. So at the very least, I still think that even if we do bond up, just do our thing, trade in a new society in the shell of the old, at the very least, violence will come to us from the state and the corporations that the state backs as to suppress us. I mean, Standing Rock, it's a good example, as we've been discussing. That's just people just doing their own thing and they want to fill a pipeline. What's happened to Wet'suwet'en people in British Columbia, Canada, I think, as well. So violence will either come to us or they will not give up their power unless they're at least a threat of violence. And so at least hypothetically, or at least theoretically, I'm not opposed to a violent revolution, because it's a big if the landlords, or the big landlords, as I should say, will be willing to give up their land, as it were.
I mean, the problem with violent revolution is that it's unpredictable. You could just as easily fall to fascism as make a good permanent change.
Yeah.
I am starting to wonder, certainly in the States anyway, whether it's almost inevitable now.
It feels like it sometimes.
You know, I mean, you see a lot of potential for violence. You see a lot of, I mean, Trump does it consciously of saying that, not so much saying it outright, but it's there in the background, isn't it? That if you lot choose to come out and fight for me, it is acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
It's not overt, it's a very covert message, but it is definitely there, I think. Well, I think it is, you know.
Yeah. I think rather than, full-on revolution, I think direct actions that tie up capitalism could be a more effective strategy. Like, I mean, just think about it. If you put chains across a major intersection downtown, then you just completely snarl up traffic and the city more or less shuts down.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and Extinction Rebellion has been doing that fantastically in this
They've been
country.
doing a great job. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
But I'm not sure. I just see this. I hate to say this, but this is the doomsdayer in me. I hate to say this, but I see this. It's almost like the environment itself. This heated rhetoric, and it charges the environment, and the environment gets hotter, and the people get more upset. I just don't see how that's not going to end in massive bloodshed at some point, because people are getting poorer, and with COVID, I think we're at a turning point where people are going to start losing their housing. People are going to start being on the streets. They're going to be homeless. They're going to be starving, and starving people will kill. You know, when you lose everything, you don't have anything to lose.
Freedom's just another word. Yeah. I mean, and we could have avoided that if it weren't for the fact that the capitalists prevented any sort of moratorium on evictions and rent payments. Because they need to get that money, and they're not willing to make sure that the country doesn't collapse.
Yeah. Hey guys, let's just take a 6-month moratorium on you guys raping the rest of the world economies, and just like not take any money during that time.
Yeah.
No, that's not going to happen. Literally, they are going to propel themselves into where, I hate to say it, but I feel like it's going to be like Mad Max at some point.
Yeah.
Because right now, people aren't making the choices. I mean, what's going to happen when where I live right now is underwater? It's going to happen in the next 15, 20, 30 years. It's going to happen.
New real estate opportunities. New waterfront properties will open up.
Well, I am on the 4th floor, so.
Oh my god, now I'm remembering a Pinky and Brain episode where Pinky was trying to like melt both ice caps, and so that all of the world is underwater except for all the properties from the 39th floor and above. And
that was also Lex Luthor's plot in Superman back in the 80s, or 79, I think it was. Let's see, that was also whose plot was. I think that was another plot at another time. It's just a very popular plot. New waterfront properties by massive
but
disaster.
The British don't even know what the 4th floor is, because technically, if you get on the elevator, you have to push the 3rd floor.
Because they don't call it the 1st floor; they call it the ground floor, and then the one above that.
Which is perfectly sensible thing to do.
Yeah.
Anybody want to start that argument? No.
It's the 1st floor.
The ground floor is the 1st floor. It's a synonym.
Exactly. So if you don't want to call, if you just want to call it the ground floor, I'm fine with that. Then just call the next floor the 2nd floor.
Because it's not the first one, no matter what you want to call it. It's not the 1st floor.
Exactly, John. Exactly. And I live on the 4th floor, not the 3rd.
Well, this is 2020. Is this the start of a new decade?
Ooh.
It's always the start of a new decade. Decade just means 10 years.
Okay, so by that logic, yes, it is. But it's like, are we finally in the 2020s decade? But it's like not 2021. I mean, do we have a year zero or something like that?
We did not have a year zero. We're in the 2020s, but we're not yet in the next decade.
Mhm.
All right. But with that discussion of floors, I think we seem to have exhausted.
We've
our
hit the
topics. No, we're at the top. We're on the 4th floor.
Or is it the 3rd floor?
All right. So why don't we just go ahead and wrap it up there? Marty, do you have anything you want to plug?
Probably my apartment because it's going to be flooded.
All right. And Myth, do you have any projects?
I'm afraid I don't. I'm really useless about stuff like that.
Well, you're British.
Ouch.
And Jonathan.
Well, I have a Twitch channel, and yesterday I actually read a couple of essays, like The Case Against Voting by Colin Ward, but then a couple of Errol Malatesta essays, Reformism and Gradualism. I'll be cutting that up into like 3 separate videos and posting it up on a YouTube channel. So Twitch channel Summer and the Geek, YouTube channel Summer and the Geek, Twitter Summer and the Geek, and also next weekend on Twitch, I'll be on my channel and various other channels. Tabby the Wolf, the Tabby the Wolfist, who's in the chat as Tabby the Wolf, is with others like me and Paige and Groundhog are going to be arranging a charity weekend benefiting the Transgender Law Center, and is going to be like on a bunch of different like Twitch streamers channels. We got Jane Henry, we got Sarah Brett, we got Mama G, and Lin Wu, and so it's going to be a raid train model where it's just like we're going to start from one channel but right into the next channel, right into, so the charity weekend will be on each individual charity each individual Twitch streamer's channel, including me. I'll be a part of it, so check that out. Follow my Twitter for more information on that. We're arranging it right now, and please check that out. And I'm done now.
Okay. As for me, I take part in another podcast, Dungeons and Debacles, hosted by my friend Kevin. Heck of a lot of fun. Wildly different from this. We are currently trying to save the world from an evil cult that wants to...
Wait, how many times has that been?
Oh, no different from this.
Yes, but this evil cult is trying to free an ancient red dragon from the abyss rather than trying to preserve capitalism. It's a total thing. Totally different.
Can we do that with this world? Is there some dragon that we can free?
Oh yes, Jeff Bezos, my feudal lord, Lex Luthor. He is sitting on way too much money.
Let's raise Marx from the abyss and let him destroy the world. I think that would work. All right, and with that, remember to take your meds, gang.
Self-care.
Okay, do crimes.
Hydrate.
And I will see everyone.